Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Eric Waltzman, and here's something that's going to sound backwards. The biggest mistake people make when asking for a raise is actually asking for a raise. I know that sounds crazy, but stick with me because when I figured this out, I went from getting turned down twice to landing a 15% bump that literally changed my financial life. Quick heads up, this is for educational purposes only and not financial advice. Today, I'm breaking down the exact framework that worked for me and thousands of others to get paid what we're actually worth. Here's why this matters right now. According to a Pew Research study, 60% of workers who asked for a raise in the past 2 years actually got one, but most people never ask at all. They just hope their boss notices their hard work. Meanwhile, inflation is still eating away at your paycheck, and if you're not getting at least a 3 to 4% raise annually, you're technically taking a pay cut. When I was buried in $40,000 of debt, I realized I couldn't budget my way out of that hole fast enough. I needed to earn more, and that meant having some uncomfortable conversations. But once I learned how to approach these conversations the right way, everything changed. The difference between people who get raises and people who don't comes down to 5 specific things they do differently, and I'm going to walk you through every single one. First, you need to document your wins like your paycheck depends on it. Because it literally does. This was the game changer for me. I used to think my boss knew everything I did. Wrong. Your manager is juggling 50 things and they're not tracking your accomplishments. You need to do that. Here's what I did. I created a simple spreadsheet, and every Friday I spent 10 minutes writing down what I accomplished that week. Not just tasks I completed, but actual results. Did I save the company money? Did I bring in revenue? Did I solve a problem that was costing time? I tracked numbers wherever possible. For example, instead of writing manage social media, I wrote increased engagement by 23% over 3 months, leading to 12 qualified leads. See the difference? One is a task, the other is a result. By the time I asked for my raise, I had 6 months of concrete evidence. I walked into that meeting with a 1-page summary of how I'd added value, and my boss literally said, "I didn't realize you'd done all this." That document did the heavy lifting for me. Start your own wins document today, right now if you can. Every week, add to it. When raise time comes, you'll have ammunition, instead of just hoping they remembered you worked hard. Second, you've got to know your market value, and I mean really know it, not just guess. A lot of people ask for a raise based on what they need, or what feels fair, but companies don't care about your rent or your student loans. They care about what the market pays for your skills. Before my successful raise conversation, I spent hours researching. I used sites like Glassdoor, PayScale, and Salary.com to see what people in my role, in my city, with my experience level were actually making. I also joined industry groups on LinkedIn and Reddit where people talked openly about compensation. Turns out I was making about 18% below market rate for my position. That number was crucial because it wasn't personal, it was factual. When I brought this up in my raise conversation, I didn't say, "I think I deserve more." I said, based on market research for this role in our region, the average compensation is X, and I'm currently at Y. That shifts the conversation from opinion to facts. It's not about what you feel you deserve, it's about what the market says you're worth. Spend 2 hours this week researching your role's market value. Write down the range you find and the sources. This homework is literally worth thousands of dollars. Here's where it got real for me. Back in 2019, I was making $47,000 a year and barely scraping by. I remember sitting in my apartment one night looking at my credit card statement showing another $230 in interest charges, just thinking this is unsustainable. That was the moment I decided I had to get serious about earning more. I couldn't keep waiting for someone to notice I was underpaid. That single decision to take control of my earning potential was worth way more than any side hustle I could have started. It forced me to have the hard conversation that eventually got me that 15% raise. Third, timing is everything, and most people get this completely wrong. You can't just walk into your boss's office randomly and drop a raise request like a bomb. I learned this the hard way my first attempt. I asked right after the company had a rough quarter, and my manager basically laughed me out of the room. Now I'm strategic about it. The best time to ask is right after you've delivered a major win. just closed a big project, solved a crisis, got great feedback from a client. That's your window. The second best time is during your performance review, which is literally designed for this conversation. Another good time is when your company is doing well financially. If your boss just announced a great quarter or your team exceeded goals, that's when there's actually money available and people are in a good mood. I asked for my raise 2 weeks after our department exceeded its annual target, and I'd played a key role in that. The timing made my request feel logical instead of random. Pay attention to your company's rhythm. When's budget planning? When are performance reviews? When do big projects wrap up? Mark these on your calendar and plan your approach around them. Fourth, you need to make it a conversation about the future, not just the past. This is that counterintuitive thing I mentioned at the start. When I finally got my raise, I spent only about 30% of the conversation talking about what I'd already done. The other 70%, I talked about what I was going to do next. I came in with a 6-month plan showing how I'd take on more responsibility and add even more value. I basically said, here's what I've contributed so far, here's what I'm worth in the market, and here's how I want to grow in this role to deliver even more results. This approach completely changes the dynamic because now you're not just asking for more money for past work, you're proposing an investment in future value. I outlined 3 specific projects I wanted to lead and how they'd impact our bottom line. My boss loved it because I made her job easier. She could go to her boss and say, here's why we're investing more in Eric, and here's the return we expect. Companies don't pay you for what you did, they pay you for what you're going to do. Your action step here is to write out a 3 to 6 month plan for how you'll add even more value in your role. Be specific about projects, skills you'll develop, or responsibilities you'll take on. Bring that plan to the raise conversation. Fifth, and this is the one nobody wants to hear, you have to be willing to walk away. Not as a bluff, but as a real option. Here's a hot take that might upset some people. Staying loyal to one company for years is actually costing you serious money. According to ADP research, workers who switch jobs see salary increases averaging 15%, while those who stay at the same company average just 4% annual raises. Over a decade, that gap compounds into 6 figures of lost earnings. I'm not saying you should job hop constantly, but you need to know what you're worth elsewhere. Before I asked for my final and successful raise, I quietly started testing the job market. I updated my resume. I took a few calls with recruiters. I even went on 2 interviews just to see what was out there. I wasn't trying to leave, but I needed to know my options. That preparation did 2 things. First, it confirmed my market research was right. Companies were willing to pay me more. Second, it gave me confidence in the conversation. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't begging. I was a professional discussing fair compensation, and if my company couldn't meet me somewhere reasonable, I had alternatives. Now, you shouldn't threaten to quit or wave another offer in your boss's face unless you're truly ready to leave. That's a quick way to damage trust. When I finally put all 5 of these pieces together, I got that 15% raise, which for me was an extra $7,000 a year. That money went straight to crushing my debt, and within 3 years, I was completely debt-free. That one conversation changed my trajectory. Now, I really don't want to hear from you. What's the biggest thing holding you back from asking for a raise right now? Drop it in the comments because I read every single one, and I'll try to give you specific advice. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button because next week I'm breaking down exactly what to do if they say no to your raise request, including when to stay and when it's time to move on. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next one.